think overall it's a dark day for our country. I personally was not surprised by the verdict. Part of the reason of having the trial in New York was because there was a jury pool that would be very much against Donald Trump. So I think as this continues to play out, what you're seeing is a continuation of the division politically and mentally and emotionally in America right now. And this is only going to further that divide as we move forward.
How do you think Donald Trump is reacting behind the scenes right now? And we've seen him out and about in New York waving to crowds since that verdict came out. He did describe it as a disgrace, but just with his team behind the scenes and speaking to his lawyers.
Yeah, when Donald Trump's in these situations, I mean, behind the scenes, he's very angry. He's frustrated. He doesn't understand why this attack was developed on him. But he also recognizes the value that it has in terms of his brand and being able to campaign. And just as you had many commentators on talking about the impact that this trial has. And I've been watching the polling very closely, particularly over the last 72 hours. And I'm very curious to see if the numbers hold. This verdict will not change the minds of American voters. They're already made up. Now that the verdict has been in, now let's take that poll again. Let's see if those Republican voters, those moderates and independents, if they still hold close to Donald Trump. That'll be a very telling sign both for the Trump campaign and for the Biden campaign on how difficult it's going to be for Joe Biden to gain back this ground.
And, there are some who are saying that within the Republican Party, it could be potential civil war. I mean, with Donald Trump watching very carefully to see who continues to support him, stand by him, and those who may say, well, look, we need to respect the decision of the court.
Yeah, Yalda, we experienced this in 2016, and I think there was much more of an effort within the Republican Party at that time to possibly remove Donald Trump as the nominee. This time around, I don't think you're going to see that. There may be some disgruntled Republicans, party establishment people that we call them, but the majority of the Republican Party has already gotten behind Donald Trump. He's got many more endorsements than he ever had in 2016 early on in the campaign. And I think you're going to continue to see that support. And look, for me, it's important to watch the moderates and independents. They're really going to decide who's the next president of the United States. And as long as those moderates and independents continue supporting Donald Trump, not necessarily his personality, but his issues and what they like about his policies, then I think he'll do very well in the election. But we'll have to see how those moderates and independents are going to sway now that the verdict is out.
Yeah, and certainly Donald Trump, we were speaking a little earlier about the Republican convention. Donald Trump has used this to his advantage, and he certainly will do so at the convention as well, describing this as a rigged trial, saying that it's a political witch hunt, feeding that to the American people, saying that they are trying to discredit him, and these are all trumped-up charges.
Look, I've worked with a lot of political candidates over the years, particularly at the presidential level. I've never seen somebody like Donald Trump be able to take the worst case scenario, turn it on its head, and actually make it benefit you. And this is exactly what he likes to do. He is a fighter. He likes being on the attack. So the Democrats are, in this case, giving him the ammunition to be able to do that. And I think that what you're going to see is his base being galvanized. One of the things that we talk about is Donald Trump doing very well in the polls. Well, that doesn't necessarily translate to voters actually going out either early voting or on election day. Unless you get those votes out, you can't win. So this is going to galvanize Trump's voters more so than the Democratic voters. And that's very important, particularly since this race will likely be very close. It'll be decided by thousands of votes in some of the key battleground states.